Outlet Liquor is your place to buy a case. Stock up and save when you shop the lowest prices available every day at Outlet Liquor. You never have to wait for a sale. The more you buy, the more you save. Only at Outlet Liquor.
What's your outlet?
Welcome, everybody, to the Buffalo Sabres, Anaheim Ducks pregame show, brought to you by, as you just saw, Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case over there on George Urban Boulevard. Joined here by none other than Monster, the biggest fucking maniac you'll ever meet in your life. Coming off a very, very disappointing, dreadful loss last night on Monday Night Football by the Bills. Not here to talk about that, but I mean, obviously we look at Monster's background there, one beat louder, and you can't help but be, you're left wanting more after that game last night, Monster.
I want a lot more, and I'll be live on Facebook at 8 o'clock to talk about my feelings about yesterday's game. So do me a favor, if your children are around and you'd like to watch, put them to sleep, because it's not gonna be safe for work. So if you're interested, stop by, have a few laughs, let's rant.
Exactly. I just to keep it short and sweet on last night's Bills game, I find it crazy difficult to believe that with 10 days to prepare and knowing what weather you're walking into, that you did not have a single designed run for Josh Allen, like drawn up. Nothing.
What shocked me the most, what I caught, is usually when they ask McDermott about his coaches, the first thing he does is deflect and he takes responsibility. He didn't do that when they asked him about the offense. He said, I expect more out of the offense considering the field position we had. And I caught that as kind of odd because he didn't stick up for Dable there.
No,
so I wonder if he's starting to realize what we've all realized. He's not the guy.
I've been saying a little while about Brian Dable. It's been very frustrating. I think I don't want to include McDermott into this, but I can't help it that they're too conservative for a quarterback like Josh Allen. Like, I mean, I'm not saying you got to utilize the guy the way Baltimore does Lamar Jackson or the way Arizona might with Kyler Murray, but the guy has some of the best legs amongst quarterbacks in the league. Remember his first two seasons, the guy was an absolute on fire. He was a weapon, still is. But, I mean, it just blows my mind that, in inclement weather, even though he showed us that 40-mile-an-hour winds do not matter to Josh Allen, he's got a laser, he's got a fucking cannon. But just the fact that, in my opinion, I think Josh Allen should have been your leading rusher last night, hands down.
You know why he wasn't?
Why wasn't he?
I'll give you 258 million reasons why.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The contract for sure. But
they're protecting him.
Yeah.
They're limiting what he can do as a natural athlete because of the money they're paying him.
Yep, but you want to know what? Yeah, you want to know what? Those are the chances you take when you sign players with that kind of money, and you got to do what you got to do to win. Am I right? You saw he had one rushing attempt last night for over 30 yards. The guy just took off like a bat out of hell. And in the red zone especially, the guy is just, you take that weapon away from him. Why? I just don't understand it.
The last point I'll make on the Bills, and then we can talk Sabres, because everybody's probably like, what are you guys talking about Bills for? For the first time last night watching that game, I'm a fan of the snow. I love the weather that we have and the advantage we have. But the way our team is built, it's not an advantage anymore. The snow and the wind, that doesn't help us anymore. We're speed. We're the long ball. We're fast. Our home weather is not an advantage anymore. Last night, it proved to be a disadvantage for the first time in 20 years. You know what I'm saying? Our weather elements played against us in that loss.
Yep. I think I'm on Team Dome myself and have been for a little bit now. Very,
I love Dome.
Yeah. Very difficult to disagree that I think the way to go from now on is definitely a Dome for sure. But with that being said, going into tonight's matchup, 7:30 start for the Buffalo Sabres against the Anaheim Ducks. UPL, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, getting his season debut in net tonight for the Buffalo Sabres. I'm not sure how to feel about it. I mean, obviously you don't want to go back to Aaron Dell because he's been a disaster for them. But, UPL has had quite a few struggles down in Rochester. He's been, it's been difficult for him to string together, consistent games of playing well. He's had one really good week where I think he was player of the week in the AHL. But other than that, he's been average to below average at best. So, I just don't want to see the kid get pumped tonight for 6 goals and then get sent back to Rochester and mentally have to deal with that. But we're in a very unique situation where you lost Craig Anderson for probably the rest of the season. Dustin Kakarski's on the COVID list, and then you bring in Malcolm Subban, and in his Sabres debut, he gets hurt. So you're either go back to Arundel or you give UPL his season debut.
I'm looking at it like this. Like, Donnie, Meatball's got to be sitting in his office, like, just looking. He's like, we've given up 6.8 goals the last 3 games. We've given up 20 goals in the last 3 games. It can't get any worse. So if he gives up 6, it's right on par with what the goalies and the defense have been allowing anyway. So, but I get what you're saying about his psyche. Like, especially goaltenders, because as we all know, goaltenders are a special breed. Yeah. So it's just, is it the right time? When is the right time considering how the team's playing? You know what I mean? When is the right time considering how he's playing? You know what I mean? Maybe it's one of those things where one day it just clicks. Like, he gets called up here. He has that game that just, it boosts his confidence, and then the kid just goes from there. So is it too early? I don't really think they have a choice considering how we've been doing, but we're going to see if it's too early down the road. But let's hope the kid has a good game tonight.
Yeah, just pulling up his stats right now on the season in Rochester. In 12 games played, he has 3.42 goals against and a .888 save percentage. That's very, very, very below league average. And then the year before, also 14 games at Rochester, 3.60 goals against and exactly the same, an .888 save percentage. In the 4 games played last year at Buffalo, even though, again, the goals against isn't there, 3.88 goals against, he did have a .906 save percentage. So, I mean, that's a little bit of an improvement in his time in the NHL before he got hurt. Obviously coming off 2 really discouraging losses to Florida and to Carolina. One was 7-4, the other 6-2. You got to try and get yourself back on track here. You're healthy. The only guy not in your lineup right now, I believe, outside of your goaltenders, is Alex Tuck, who has never played a game in a Buffalo uniform. So for me, you really got to try and find a way to bounce back here and give yourself some confidence going to this next lineup of games. I think their next home game might be Saturday against the Washington Capitals. But you really got to find to get yourself back into your winning ways here. And I think, especially with a goalie who has had his struggles in the AHL, you really have to, get your feet moving quickly, get pucks to the net, and try to find a way. I'm not sure if it's John Gibson starting in net for Anaheim. I want to say it is, but he's a very, very, very good goaltender, and get on him early and maybe try and get an early lead here for UPL. So, give him a little bit of make him feel comfortable. So he doesn't think, hey, the first mistake I make goes in the net, we're already screwed. No, try and get an early lead for him.
Yeah, you got to come out of the gates flying. Because I'll tell you what, they're trying to turn the culture around. They're trying to change the attitude in the locker room around. Losing games and forgetting how to play hockey for 10, 15-minute stretches during games where you allow goals just back to back to back, that's going to affect your culture. You're not going to have a happy culture because you're losing. You can be the happiest bunch of jolly, you know what I mean? And if you're not winning after a while, it's going to grate on you. It's going to affect how you mentally come to the rink every day because you're going to expect to lose. And once that's a culture, you start back at square one where we were. Yep. So keep it competitive. I don't mind if you lose. I said it before. 4-2, 5. Just put a product on the ice that tries and shows me that you're doing it. In the last 3 games, that's not what we've seen. Fans aren't here to stay. You haven't earned us back yet. Okay? So at the point where you're giving up those goals, if you continue, I'm not watching anymore, and I know thousands of other fans aren't either because we've seen this show before, and we don't like it, okay? So that's my take, and that's how I feel. That's what's going to happen. The culture will eventually turn sour based on losing. You have to put the effort in, and you have to get the results. Now, could they get another backup goaltender or starter that's better than what we have? Yeah, they could. Go look at the free agents that are out there. Go look at teams' backup goalies that have great records. I'm not going to list them because I don't remember them. I'll be honest with you. but there's better options out there. So when does he pull the trigger? Malcolm Subban was a joke. Like, I don't even know why he did that. So we'll see what they do in the future. But tonight they got to come out of the gates and they got to jump on.
Yeah, coming here from Iron New, I'm assuming that getting a legit NHL starting goalie in the top is a top priority for Kevin Adams. I mean, this is crazy. I agree. And there are some names available out there. One that's always been in and out of trade talks has been Corpusalo out of Columbus, a very solid starting goaltender. Find another veteran that, a guy, maybe Craig Anderson does come back. I find that hard to believe at his age. But if he does, that'd be a solid backup option for a guy like Corpusalo. Other games out there, maybe like Braden Holtby. I know Buffalo's been tied to Anton Khudobin out of Dallas. He's been kind of, the odd man out, kind of like the Cinderella story, so to speak. When Dallas made that run to the Cup, Khudobin was one of the biggest reasons why they made that run. And then, another name that was actually signed into an AHL deal. He's not NHL property now. The Charlotte Checkers signed 3-time NHL All-Star Devin Dubnyk to a PTO contract. Devin Dubnyk, I'm not saying that type of guy. I believe most of his success came with the Minnesota Wild. Not saying a guy like that would find a resurgence in his career here in Buffalo, but anything's better than what's going on right now. Shouldn't say that anything's better. They could have me in that, but
strap them up,
right? But I need you got to find some better options than Aaron Dell and a struggling UPL.
I would take any of those three guys that you named, because right now the goalie bar in Buffalo's not that high. So you don't really have to get Patrick Waugh to get better than what we have.
No,
you know what I mean?
don't.
Just find somebody sustainable. Even Dubnyk in the right, you know what I mean? He could do better in the right situation. It's just he's got to be. Kevin Adams has to be working on something. I don't see him sitting content with what we have if his main goal is to actually win and get this team better. I just don't see him not working on it. I hope to God he is.
I do too. It's again, it's very discouraging as a goalie myself and as a Sabres fan, because when you're playing in front of a goalie that you can't really depend on. All teams play differently. You kind of grip your stick a little tighter. You play on your heels a little bit. You're afraid to make mistakes. You really can't play your brand of hockey in front of a goalie, like, quite frankly, you can't trust. And we haven't had a goalie that you consistently trust probably since Brian Miller, and that's kind of pathetic if you consider how long ago he was traded to St. Louis in that Steve Ott deal.
Dell's turning into last year's Hutton. You can see last year the Sabres played better in front of Allmark than they did Hutton. They didn't trust Hutton. It's the same thing this year. They don't trust him. They don't play well in front of him.
No, they don't. They absolutely do not. I honestly can't blame them. Aaron Dell will have a few moments here or there where he pulls a save out of his ass, and which is what you need from your goalie, but the consistency just isn't there. And I'm not going to take anything away from listen, there have been a lot of defensive breakdowns in our end below the dots. Guys left alone in front of the net. You're doing a lot of puck watching. The defensive play from both the defensemen and the forwards back checking has been absolutely horrendous the last few games. It's sad, actually. So I believe it was Ty who mentioned in the group chat earlier that I think the Buffalo's won 2 games since I think they might have beat Anaheim on their West Coast trip.
7-1 in the last 8.
Yeah, it's insanity. That's unacceptable. I don't care. And Mike Harrington said on another podcast earlier in the week, and I know a lot of people don't like Mike Harrington, but for me personally, I like him because he doesn't beat around the bush. He asks for accountability, and he'll go for the throat too with his questions. I remember after the Sabres fired Jason Botterill, he went right for the jugular with Kim and Terry Pagula in their press conference after firing Botterill. He wasn't afraid to. He's the guy that's not afraid to ask the question that everybody wants an answer to. And he said that this season wasn't about winning and losing. It was about individual development amongst these young players, these guys that you're giving these opportunities to play and give them more ice time. And you hit the nail on the head. This is what the season's about. You give these individuals chances to develop and improve their game and get them ready to go to the next level. You've seen that in Tage Thompson. You've seen that in Casey Middlestat. You've seen that in Jacob Bryson. You've seen it in Dylan Cousins. And Victor Olofsson, I think, outside of Tage Thompson, is one of the biggest examples because his 5-on-5 play has been phenomenal. But he hit the nail on the head. It's all individual development this year, not about winning and making the playoffs, because we all know that wasn't going to happen.
Right. We're nowhere near the playoffs, but continue to develop in the right direction. Just show us that you can adjust to the trend of losing that's happening right now in the last 9 games and start riding the ship. You don't got to win 5 in a row. You don't got to win 2 in a row. Mm-hmm. If you lose tonight, lose 4-3. You know what I mean? Like, make it competitive. Let us know that you're there to fight and battle to the end, and don't have periods of 10 minutes here and there where you forget how to play hockey. You know what I mean? Like, just don't do that. Like, show us that you can adjust. I want to see that Adams and Meatballs can adjust to it. Like, all right, we're playing like shit. This is how we're going to shake it up. Change the lines. Put somebody different with somebody else different. Show us that you're trying to do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to pull up Lance Lyasowski. He tweeted out the lines earlier. And I was actually wrong. Anthony Stolarz is getting the start in net for Anaheim, which is a backup.
I'll never get a press pass. Can you imagine me asking a question after a game where you get blown out 7-1? The defense just how to play hockey.
Yeah.
Question Monster Trainwreck Sports. Yeah, all 6 of the defensemen were they drunk? Like, because they forgot how to play hockey for like 18 minutes in the second period.
Yeah, I agree. Lines tonight: Thompson centering Skinner and Olsen. Cousins will be centering Murray and Okposo. Middlestat centering Gergensen and Asplin. And then Cody Eakin centering Bajork and Hinostroza. Dahlin is right back with Pissick. Bryson with Yoki Haru. Butcher with Miller, so no change really in defensive pairings. I thought Jacob Bryson for a while was playing with Colin Miller, so maybe that is a change up from last game. And then UPL in net for Buffalo, so making his season debut. Before we kick it over to Faceoff, Monster, any predictions?
I just want to see him battle, Duane. I just want to see a fight. Like, I want to see a hockey game. I don't want to see a blowout. I want to get pissed off and turn it off after the second period. Like, just give me something halfway enjoyable to watch. I want to see UPL do good, and hopefully it's a close game. I'm going to say 4-3. I'm not going to say which way.
Yeah, I actually don't hate that prediction. You get the backup in net for Anaheim. So hopefully, as you know, a struggling, desperate Sabres team looking for a win, you can take advantage of that. Like I said, I think you got to get pressure on them earlier. Get your feet moving. You know, come shot out of a cannon. Pucks on net, get traffic in front, and honestly, don't be afraid to shoot from all angles. You know, look for rebounds, shoot for rebounds, have guys drive to the net. Really make Stolarz feel uncomfortable early here, and maybe pad a little bit of a lead for UPL early so he's not feeling so out of sorts and nervous, because his nerves are probably, on end right now, because he was supposed to be the guy this season as the backup to Craig Anderson, and he lost that spot to Dustin Tokarski. It was supposed to be Anderson and UPL, and that never ended up happening because UPL just did not perform well enough in the preseason, and he lost that opportunity. So here's a chance for he feels that he can get this back. So I got to imagine, he's probably he was probably stress shitting like crazy today. For anybody who's got the nerves in a situation like this. So I'm gonna say Buffalo. Being the optimistic Sabres fan that I am, I'm gonna say Buffalo 3-2 in a shootout. Hopefully we get a kind of a resurgence game tonight from a guy like Rasmus Dahlin. Maybe he gets a couple points on the board, and maybe starts to proving those doubters wrong. We'll see. But also,
it's going to be a long time.
Yep.
Like, we're still waiting for Dahlin. Like, okay, buddy, are you going to get it yet?
Here's my thing. Here's my thing on the Dahlin talk is when you have the team full of NHL ready, capable players who aren't on entry-level deals, who might not even be in the league after this, that's when I think you start to become really critical of Rasmus Dahlin. That's when I think that he has the help available to him, top to bottom on the ice, is where you really, really start to get critical of him. Because right now, when you have your Vinny Hinostrozas, your Drake Kajulas, and those players that honestly, your Mark Pisicks, Colin Miller won't be here next year, unfortunately.
God.
Not that he's having a bad season, but these guys that aren't really helping move the needle forward for Buffalo and are just really here for one and done. I think that's when you really start to become overly critical of Rasmus Dahlin and whether or not he can live up to that first overall pick. A lot still to be desired there. So, yeah, but like I said, I'm gonna go 3-2 Buffalo in a shootout, and be sure in between periods to check out Where the Buffalo Roam from producer Steve. He's going to give you a breakdown on, at least for the first edition, all of your prospects and how they're playing right now in Rochester, from Jack Quinn, obviously UPL, who's playing up here tonight, JJ Paterka, Peyton Krebs, the whole 9 yards. You're getting everything from producer Steve at Castle Hawthorne on Twitter, if you want to give him a follow. Absolute wagon. He's real excited. I'm real excited to debut this. I love the name, Where the Buffalo Roam. So make sure you check that out in between periods. And remember, this has been brought to you by Outlet Liquor, the place to buy a case. And just 3 words: let's go Sabres.